Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Patrick and I'm going to be talking about Activision today. Before we begin, I want to give a little bit of background on myself and sort of why I decided to make this video, what my credibility is in making this video. So I myself am a cybersecurity professional. I've spent the last several years both in academia and in the professional sector working in cybersecurity and studying critical vulnerabilities and related items in the field. Recently, it has come to my attention just through research and experience that there's been a lot of issues with Activision in related to critical vulnerabilities in their games that they are refusing to remediate, and also taking down services that allow people to play their games safely. So what I want to start out with is talking about Activision as a company. So over the past several years, up to and leading to the takeover by Microsoft, there have been countless occurrences of corporate misconduct and other related issues in the last several years. And then in another article here, the investors trying to fix the most toxic company in video games, and quote, Activision Blizzard accused of fostering an intensely sexist workplace and can't ignore the critics that represent 3 million of its shares. So again, further into the article, regulators say the 2-year investigation into a company revealed an alcohol-drenched frat boy culture that included inappropriate conduct by executives, men openly joking about rape, and general breeding ground for harassment and discrimination against women. This really all relates a lot to some of the issues that we've been seeing with Activision over the years. If you just look at the sales of the games they have, Call of Duty's a huge one, right? Being that they never discount their games. Games coming out in 2010, 2011, 2012, still selling full price on Steam and other platforms, despite the fact that the games are completely compromised. Multiplayer doesn't work, filled with hackers, right? So they're advertising a game that has all these capabilities that you can't actually use. And it goes a lot deeper than that, than just not being able to play in these lobbies. It's actually very dangerous to play in these lobbies, and I'll explain why. So what I want to get into now is the vulnerabilities that are present in these games and why it's actually dangerous to play these games that Activision still insists on selling at full price. So if we go to the common vulnerability enumeration, again, I'll leave all of this linked below. This is a really great place to find vulnerabilities, learn about them, and learn how to remediate them, something that Activision should actively be doing. So there's a few CVEs that I want to talk about, namely CVE 2019-20893, which allows use of a buffer overflow vulnerability to deliver packets and completely take over a victim's machine, and this can be done just by launching a game. One key game is Black Ops 3, which came out in, I believe, 2015, quite recent, shouldn't have such a critical vulnerability present in it. There's a video that I will link below, highly recommend you watch it, where a user talks about the fact that he joined a party in Black Ops 3 playing in a private match, not public, just with his close friends. He walked away from his computer, came back, and saw someone with remote access going through his online banking and trying to steal money from him. So this isn't something that just spans of not being able to play a game. It's that there's actually really dangerous repercussions of playing these games, and Activision is doing nothing about it. They've pushed some patches out, but it has not fixed the overall extent of this issue. So should one of these critical vulnerabilities hit your system, right? For example, CVE 2018-10718, which is a buffer overflow attack for playing Modern Warfare 2, a hacker could get in and do a hidden remote system access and access your files without you even knowing. This is a really big issue because a lot of vulnerabilities we have through less sophisticated attacks are very visible to the end user, right? You see your mouse moving around, like I've mentioned before, or other things like that that are going to be extremely apparent. You could pull the plug. And a really important thing I want to bring up in this common vulnerability, CVE 2018. 2018 indicates the year in which the vulnerability was found, right, and subsequent date. This has been around for years. It has been very well known to Activision and the developers, and nothing has been done about it. That's a really, really big problem, because people have been definitely victim to this for several years, and nothing has been done. So now I want to talk about sort of where the greed in all of this comes from, because that is, again, one of the main things I'm talking about in this video. So recently, Activision has issued a cease and desist to two of the major Call of Duty projects that are designed to revive their old games that they no longer support. The key issue from Activision's perspective is that a lot of people torrent their games when using these platforms, which is understandable that they don't like that. Pirating is a problem, of course, but the problem is they're not just going after the torrenting part, they're completely taking down these private servers that make these games safe to play. This is a really huge issue on multiple fronts. Not only can you no longer play these games, they are showing the community that they do not support open source projects that allow individuals to play these games in a safe manner anymore. So one of the other key platforms that's still up is Plutonium, which I have running on the screen right now. That's the only platform that's in the mainstream, at least, that has not received a cease and desist. That may be due to the fact that they've removed the instructions for torrenting the game, which hopefully will keep this running, because again, this is one of the last ways to play these games safe. So I think the biggest issue for me is that, of course, Activision is a private company. Their goal is to make money, but the way they're going about it by nickel and diming their old customers, trying to force them to pay full price for games that have come out over a decade ago, and not supporting their systems, it just seems kind of crazy to me, right? We have new games like Warzone where everything is just like a pay-to-win model, and you have nothing but constant, like all these constant skins coming out and everything else. So the revenue stream there is really strong, and it just perplexes me that they are so insistent on destroying these passionate projects that people are just using to revive their old games. So sales of Black Ops 1 is not what's making the bottom line at Activision, right? So why are we crippling the ability to play these games at like the chance of selling a few extra copies of the game, right, through Steam or something like that? So I think the whole point of this is that I hope that publishers will start to realize that people do have a lot of passion for these games. And I feel like Activision, more than any other publisher, is so far removed from the developers and, of course, the players at the end. And I think a big part of it is that the recent games aren't selling like they used to. The new Modern Warfare 2 has been a disaster, right? Warzone is the only thing keeping that alive, and that's not technically Modern Warfare 2 itself, right? So Activision is scrambling for any other source of revenue because they're trying to keep that building pattern that they've been doing, especially as we're exiting the pandemic. So what I want to voice here is that this is not the way to do it. Cracking down on small projects that are just trying to revive old games is not going to get them to the revenue that they're looking for, and it really blows my mind that they're this naive in their approach. What I want to bring up from cybersecurity is this very important point. It is not lawful, it is not ethical, it is not right to sell a piece of software that has major critical vulnerabilities that could get someone in really big trouble on the open market in the United States. It is a really big problem, and it is something that Activision has continued to do year after year. By no means do I expect them to have a really big budget thrown at patching vulnerabilities in these old games. It makes sense that things come up over time, but when you're still selling the games for full price, there's an expectation that these things are going to be fixed. We're no longer in the days of discs, right, in consoles that don't connect to the internet. This is a really big security issue and something that they need to think about. So they need to either drop support for the games altogether and deeply slash the prices of them, or they need to fix them. You can't have both. And that's something that only Activision has done for a long time, and it needs to stop. I think at the end of the day, what this is going to take is new leadership to come in with a really big outsized impact on doing the right thing and not merely going for maximizing profit despite putting customers at extreme risk. Hopefully these things will change, but only time will tell. I hope this video was informative and you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and share and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. Thank you so much.